Cellular Organelles by Sophia Gemin, Isabella Lacal, Andrea Raven, Olivia Ucha, and Natalie Chevrel. A1. Introduction. In this PowerPoint presentation, we will provide you with basic information on cellular organelles, which are specialized structures that perform important cellular functions within a cell. In the following slides, you will be provided with referenced information on cells, their structures, cell organization, storage, boundaries, and the organelles that capture and release energy, as well as organelles that build protein. We will provide you their definition, function, location in the cell, and an image. Cell organization, the cytoplasm and nucleus. The cell can be divided into two main parts, the cytoplasm and the nucleus. The cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is located in the portion of the cell that is outside of the nucleus. The nucleus and the cytoplasm work together in the business of life. The nucleus. The nucleus is the control center of the cell. It contains nearly all of the cell's DNA, and with it, the coded instructions for making proteins and other important molecules. It is located in the center of the cell. Cell storage, cleanup, and support. Vacuoles and vesicles. Vacuoles. The function of vacuoles are to store materials like water, salts, proteins, and carbohydrates. In many plant cells, there is a single large central vacuole filled with liquid. The pressure of the central vacuole in these cells increases their rigidity, making it possible for plants to support heavy structures such as leaves and flowers. Vacuoles are located in the cell where there is a single large central vacuole filled with liquid, as showed in the picture below. Vesicles. The function of vesicles is to store and move materials between cell organelles as well as to and from the cell surface. They are located in the cytoplasm, as showed in the picture above. Cell storage, cleanup, and support. Lysosomes. Lysosomes are small organelles filled with enzymes. Lysosomes' function is to break down lipids, carbohydrates, proteins into small molecules that can be used by the rest of the cell and break down organelles that outlive their usefulness. They also remove junk that might accumulate and clutter up the cell. They are located outside the nucleus, usually in the cell membrane, and are found in plant and animal cells. Cell storage, cleanup, and support. The cytoskeleton. The cytoskeleton is a network of protein filaments that give eukaryotic cells their shape and internal organization. Function. Certain parts of the cytoskeleton help transport materials between different parts of the cell. The cytoskeleton can be involved in moving the entire cell. The cytoskeleton helps maintain cells' shape. They also are involved in the cell's movement. Two principal protein filaments of the cytoskeleton are microfilaments and microtubules. Microfilaments are pale purple, as showed in the bottom picture. They are protein filaments that make up the cytoskeleton. They are thread-like structures made up of a protein called actin. They form extensive networks in some cells and produce a tough, flexible framework that supports the cell. They also help cells move. Microtubules are hollow structures made up of proteins known as tubulins. They are important for cell shape. They form a structure known as the mitotic spindle. They are found all throughout the eukaryotic cell. Back to the basics of the cytoskeleton, as showed in the picture on top. The cytoskeleton is right here. Organelles that build protein. Ribosomes and endoplasmic reticulum, or ER. Ribosomes. Ribosomes form a structure known as the mitotic spindle. Their function is to make proteins and is where proteins are assembled. The DNA tells ribosomes what to do. Endoplasmic reticulum. In the endoplasmic reticulum is where lipid components of the cell membrane are assembled, along with proteins and other materials that are exported from the cell. There are two types of endoplasmic reticulum. There are smooth and rough. Smooth means no ribosomes are on the surface. Smooth ER contains a collection of enzymes that perform specialized tasks, including synthesis of membrane lipids and detoxification drugs. Rough ER means it contains many ribosomes on the surface. Rough ER is involved in the synthesis of proteins and is abundant in cells that produce large amounts of protein for exportation. Look at the pictures to find where ribosomes and ER are found. Ribosomes can be found in animal cells and in plant cells. ER can be found here and here. Organelles that build protein. Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus is itself an organelle that contains proteins from rough ER. It modifies, sorts, and packages proteins and other materials from the endoplasmic reticulum for storage in the cell or release outside the cell. It is located and appears as a stack of flattened membranes inside the cell. Lysosomes and peroxisome are related to Golgi apparatus. Lysosomes are small organelles filled with enzymes that break down lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins. They can be found inside the cytoplasm. Organelles that capture and release energy. Chloroplasts and mitochondria. Chloroplasts are the biological equivalents of solar power plants. Their function is to capture the energy from sunlight and then convert it into food that contains chemical energy in a process called photosynthesis. They are located in the cell membrane of prokaryotic cells and contain a green pigment called chlorophyll, as shown in the picture below. Mitochondria are the power plants of the cell. Their function is to convert the chemical energy stored in food into compounds that are convenient for the cell to use. They are located in both eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells in the cytoplasm and away from the nucleus, as shown in the picture below. Cell boundaries, cell wall, and cell membrane. Cell wall. Cell wall surrounds all cells and is a strong supporting layer around the membrane known as a cell wall. Its function is to support, shape, and protect the cell. They provide much of the strength needed for plants to stand, and it lies outside of the cell membrane. The cell membrane. The cell membrane is made up of a lipid bilayer in which proteins and carbohydrates are embedded. The lipid bilayer gives cell membranes a flexible structure that forms a strong barrier between the cell and its surroundings. The function of the cell membrane is to regulate what enters and leaves the cell. It also protects and supports the cell. The cell membrane surrounds the cell, aka the outer layer. The cell wall and cell membrane can be found in all cells. Conclusion. In conclusion, we went over cell organization, which included information about cytoplasm, which is located outside of the nucleus, and nucleus, which is the center of the cell, where genetic information is stored. They work together in the business of life. We also covered vacuoles that are located in the middle of the cell and handle materials like water, salts, proteins, and carbs. Also, vesicles, which are in smaller membrane-enclosed structures which store and move materials between cell organelles. We also covered lysosomes, which are small organelles that break down lipids, carbs, and proteins with enzymes. The cytoskeleton is a network of protein filaments that give eukaryotic cells their shape, help transport materials in the cells, and are all over the eukaryotic cells. Then we talked about microfilaments, which are thread-like, and macrotubules, which are hollow-like structures. We covered the Golgi apparatus, created in the rough ER, that modify, sort, and package proteins with and other materials. The cell wall is a strong layer around the membrane and protects it, normally made up of lipids and embedded with carbohydrates and lipids. Lastly, we talked about ribosomes, which is small pieces of RNA found in the cytoplasm of cells that makes proteins for the cells. Then we have the ERs, both smooth, no ribosomes on the surface, which contains enzymes that specifically target tasks, and rough, with ribosomes, which is where newly made ribosomes will go through. Lastly, we have the mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of the cell, covering all chemical energy stored in food, and chloroplasts, which are the biological equivalents of solar power plants, as they capture energy from sunlight and convert it to food. Without these last two parts of the cell, we would not have the energy necessary to survive. That concludes our presentation on the cells and their structures, components, and functions. Bibliography. Works cited.